Welcome back to the series of God's Plan, Leadership through the Book of Daniel. Now, if you missed chapter 1, go back and listen to chapter 1. But I'm going to give you a recap of what chapter 1 was about. See, in chapter 1, we learned that when Daniel was taken from his home and placed in Babylon, God was still in control and working behind the scenes. What looked like defeat was actually God positioning Daniel for leadership and influence later on. We learned that Daniel stayed disciplined and did not compromise his beliefs, even when he was surrounded by the different culture and environment. He made a decision to honor God with his choices, and his discipline set him apart from everyone else. We also learned that your environment does not change your identity. Daniel lived in Babylon, but he did not become Babylon because he knew who he was and remained faithful to God. And then finally, we learned that discipline brings favor, wisdom, and opportunities. Because Daniel and his friends were disciplined and faithful, God gave them knowledge, wisdom, and favor, and they were found to be 10 times better than others. So it teaches us that God is in control. Discipline sets us apart, and our environment does not define us. And faithfulness and discipline will position us for favor, wisdom, and leadership opportunities. Now, we're going to get into chapter 2. So Daniel chapter 2 is about God reveals his plan. It's about God revealing his plan. So we're going to focus on the leadership focus for today is prayer, wisdom, vision, and seeking God for answers. And of course, we're referencing from chapter 2. So as we talked about Daniel being in captivity and how God developed leaders through uncomfortable environments. This week, we're going to talk about something very important for leadership. Listen, I say everything is very important, but important for leadership, which is vision, wisdom, and seeking God for answers. In Daniel chapter 2, the king had a dream that no one could interpret, and he demanded answers. Daniel, he didn't panic, he didn't complain, and he didn't give up. Daniel prayed. This shows us something very important, as I say, right? Leaders do not rely on their own knowledge, okay? They seek God for wisdom and direction. And this chapter teaches us that God reveals plans, strategies, answers, and direction to those who seek him. So I have 4 points that I have for this chapter, 4 points. So the first point we're going to talk about is problems reveal leaders. One of the key lessons in this chapter is that problems, pressure, and crisis do not create leaders. Problems, pressure, and crisis do not create leaders. They reveal who are the real leaders. That's what they reveal. Pressure, crisis, that reveals who's the real leader around here. Anyone can look confident and capable when things are going well, but true leadership shows up when situations become difficult, uncertain, and urgent. Then you'll find out who the real leader is. So the king demanded interpretation of, or they would die. That's what he said. King Nebuchadnezzar said, listen, you're going to interpret this. This is him talking to his wise men, right? It's like, hey, you tell me what my dream is, and then you better interpret it. You tell me what my dream is. And they was like, wait a minute, we can't do that, because they believed in a lowercase g God. But we'll talk about that later. So Nebuchadnezzar had a troubling dream, and he demanded that his wise men not only interpret it, but what? Also tell him what his dream was about. And if they failed, they will be executed. This created high pressure, life or death situations. Now, we know that his wise men, they all walked around like they were just beating their chest. They the best thing around until they got put to the test. See, when God puts you to the test, man can put you to the test and you can pass all day. You can look like a leader all day. But when God puts you to the test, that's when your true self stands up. And he always go get the smallest one in the room that everybody look down on, or as a servant or less than, and God always rise that one up. So this moment represents real life leadership pressure, urgent decisions, and high expectations, limited time and high consequences. Pressure exposes how you think, how you respond, and what you rely on. Everyone else was panicking. The wise men, the astrologers, and advisors responded with fear and panic. They said the king's request was impossible and began to focus on the problem instead of looking for a solution. They were overwhelmed because they were relying only on their own knowledge and ability. Now, this shows an important truth. When people rely only on themselves, pressure often leads to panic. Common reactions under pressure. What happens? Fear kicks in. You start complaining. You start overthinking, blaming, and you just plain give up. But panic is a sign of unprepared thinking and misplaced reliance. Now, Daniel responded. How did Daniel respond? Daniel responded with calm and wisdom. When Daniel heard about the situation, he didn't panic. He didn't panic like everybody else, the best of the best. He didn't panic like them. Instead, he responded with calmness, wisdom, and strategy. He asked for time. Do you understand? He asked for time and then went to pray with his friends, seeking God for the answers. You know, it's something about that when two or more come together, things, moves happen, right? So he took his friends and he went into prayer. He didn't quickly say just because it was the king and, he was captive. He didn't go to the king and say, okay, I can answer it right. No. He understood. See, when you know God, you understand, as we call test. You understand when God has a mission for you. You understand what your calling is. You understand like, okay, this is for me. Okay, I'm brought here. This is for me. God, this is what you need me to do. I ask that you give me the answers. See, he didn't go off on himself. No. He said, give me some time. I got to go talk to my father. Because he's the one with the answer he is the only one that can answer your question because everybody else said it was impossible. So let me go talk to my father. So his response shows the difference between reacting and leading. He stayed calm under pressure. He thought clearly. He took actions instead of panicking. And he sought God for wisdom instead of relying only on himself. Leaders, we stay calm in chaos and look for solutions, not excuses, okay? As a leader, you always look for solutions and not excuses. So the overall leadership for this point, for point one, the overall leadership point that I wanted to make here is that problems reveal what? Your mindset, your level of discipline, your emotional control, your faith, and your leadership ability. The same situation that caused others to panic become the moment that positioned Daniel for promotion and influence. So summarizing it all up is that problems reveal leaders. While others panic under pressure, Daniel responded with calmness, wisdom, and prayer. True leaders do not react emotionally to problems. They remain steady, seek solution, and trust God for directions. Okay? So problems don't create leaders. They reveal leaders. Problems do not create leaders. They reveal who the real leaders are. So I want to ask you, how do you respond when pressure hits your life? Do you panic or do you pray? It's just something for you to think about. Now, let's get into point two. Now, the leadership lesson in this is that Daniel did not react immediately to the problem, right? Daniel prayed before he acted. So he didn't act immediately to the problem. He prayed first, then acted. Many people do the opposite. What do we do as humans? We panic, react, we make quick decisions, and we try to fix everything ourselves, and then we pray later. Praying is always last. Daniel shows a different type of leadership model, though. Seek God first, then move. Seek God first, then execute. God first, next move. Because he's going to guide your next move. So Daniel gathered his friends and prayed, right? So Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. When Daniel learned that the king had ordered the execution of all the wise men, he did not panic or try to solve the problem by himself. Instead, he went with his friends. He said, listen, He asked them to pray with him and seek God for mercy and revelation. Like, you listen, y'all, we need to go to God. I need y'all to help me figure this out, because how am I supposed to know what's in his head? But I know God got a plan for us. So together, two or more come together, right? We come together and we seek a thing. So this shows several leadership qualities. He knew he needed help. One, he built a strong circle, a team. He believed in the power of prayer. He didn't carry pressure along, and he responded spiritually before reacting emotionally. Okay? He responded spiritually before acting emotionally. Physical, if you act physical first, you operate from a place that's called survival mode. But when you go in the spirit, that's how you communicate with God. You go to him, ask him for a solution, and then he'll lead the way. He'll open up or show you what the next step look like. So strong leaders do not isolate themselves under pressure. They build strong circles and seek help, wisdom, and support. Because he asked God for what? Wisdom and revelation. That's what he asked God for. So let's talk about it. He asked God for wisdom and revelation. Daniel understood something very important. The problem he was facing could not be solved by human intelligence. No. The king wanted something. He wanted someone to tell him the dream and then interpret it. Something only God could reveal. So instead of trying to figure it out on himself, Daniel asked God for wisdom, understanding, revelation, direction, and an answer. This shows Daniel knew where his real source of wisdom came from. He didn't rely only on education, position, or intelligence. He relied on God. Good leaders are smart. Great leaders are guided. When you rely on God, you are being guided. You're allowing him to guide you. You take you out of it and allow God to order your next step, tell you what it is that you need to do next. He did not try to solve the problem alone. See, Daniel could have tried to figure it out. He could have tried to figure something out on his own, guess, or panic like everybody else, but he didn't. He understood that some problems are too big to solve alone and require wisdom, patience, and guidance. Many of us struggle because we try to solve everything on our own, carry every burden alone, make every decision alone, handle pressure alone. Daniel shows that leadership is not about doing everything by yourself. It's about knowing when to seek help, seek wisdom, and seek God. Isolation leads to pressure. That's what caused the panic, because, they all was trying to figure out on their own. But prayer leads to clarity, and wisdom leads to solutions. Okay? So this point pretty much teaches us that leaders pray before they act. They seek wisdom before making decisions. They gather the right people around them. They don't carry pressure. Let me just say it like this. You are a leader. You understand that some answers requires God's directions, not just human effort. Because Daniel prayed first, God revealed the dream. Daniel had the answer. Lives were saved. Daniel was promoted. Daniel gained influence and leadership. Prayer was not Daniel's last option. It was his first strategy. So Daniel prayed before he acted. He gathered all his friends, asked God for wisdom and revelation, and he did not try and solve it on his own. This shows that strong leaders seek guidance, build strong teams, as we talked about, and go to God first before making any major decisions. Great leaders pray before they make major decisions. Prayer is a leadership strategy, okay? Prayer is a leadership strategy. Remember that. So point 3, let's look at point 3. God reveals secrets to those who seek him. God revealed that the king's dream, he revealed the king's dream, and then he interpreted to Daniel because Daniel sought him first. Daniel did not receive the answer because he was the smartest one in the room, or he was the most educated or the most experienced. He received the answer because he prayed, he sought God, and he depended on God for wisdom. God revealed the dream and interpretation to Daniel. After him and his friends prayed, God revealed the king's dream and interpretation. Daniel in a vision during the night, right? This is the moment that changed everything. Daniel went from being someone who was about to be executed to the only person who had the answer the king needed. This teaches an important leadership and life principle. There are no answers. There are some answers, ideas, strategies, and solutions that only God can reveal. Not everything can be solved by education, experiences, logic, connections, positions. Some things require prayer, patience, wisdom, revelation, and guidance from God. So leaders who seek God often have insight that others don't have. Yeah. Daniel gave God the credit. When Daniel stood before the king, he did something that was very important. He did not take credit for the interpretation. He told the king that no wise man, astrologer, or magician could reveal the mystery, but there is a God in heaven who reveals mysteries. Daniel had an opportunity to make himself look important, powerful, and intelligent, but instead he gave the credit to God. This shows Daniel's humility, his character, integrity, his faith, even his leadership maturity. Your gifts may open the door, but your character is what keeps you in the room. Many people lose opportunities because they take all the credit, become prideful, or forget the source of their success. Daniel stayed humble and gave God the credit, which built trust and respect. Daniel was promoted because he sought God. After Daniel interpreted that dream, the king promoted him to a high position in Babylon and placed him in charge over many people. That's when he got haters. But Daniel also made sure his friends were promoted as well. You see, this is why I always tell people, you never know who is going to be your next God-blessed opportunity, right? Meaning that who you're connected to will be the one that's going to help the door or open the door for you. You just never know how God have things set up. So don't mistreat anyone. I always tell people, when you come into someone's life, you can't come into their life, right? God sent you into that person's life. When that person come into your life, don't shut them out because of your survival mode of everything that you went through in the past. If you go to God and ask God, God will show you by giving you different signs every time. And you may say, God, I need an answer of it. And this person may show up with the answer. A lot of people throw away their God-blessed opportunities and relationships because they don't know how to go to God. They answer on their own. And a lot of people don't know God's voice. And the reason why they don't know God's voice is because they never sat quiet enough. They allowed that childhood trauma, the loudest voice, to tell them what to do. That nudge and tell them what to do. See, because they're acting from a survival mode. God's voice is soft. You'll know God's voice and you'll know God's sheep when they come, right? So this shows a pattern, right? So being that he got promoted, and we talked about the king promoted him to a high position, he brought his friends on, but that shows a pattern. Listen, let's look at it. Problem appeared. Daniel prayed. God revealed the answer. Daniel gave God credit. Daniel was promoted. Then Daniel helped others rise with him. Promotion did not come from Daniel chasing a position. Promotion came from Daniel seeking God and solving problems. When you seek God, he gives you wisdom, direction, insight, favor. He gives you opportunities, solutions, promotions, and even influence. Promotion often comes from solving problems and giving God the credit, not from trying to impress people. God reveals secrets, wisdom, and solutions to those who seek him. Daniel prayed. God revealed the mystery. Daniel gave God the credit. Daniel got promoted. Seeking God leads to wisdom, favor, and promotion. So to summarize point 3, I believe we're on point 3. God reveals wisdom and secrets to those who seek him. Daniel prayed and God revealed. God revealed the dream and the interpretation. Then Daniel gave God the credit and he got promoted. This shows that seeking God leads to wisdom. It leads to wisdom, influence, and favor. And lastly, promotion. right? So when you ask God, he gives wisdom, favor, and promotion. I keep saying that because you're looking for God to bless you with a job. You're looking for God to increase your finances. You're looking for God to do a thing. You're looking for God. You're looking for promotions in a job, but it's all in God. See, when you seek him, he gives you the wisdom on how you have to do it. He gives you favor and promotion. I'll give you an example because I no longer work for this company, so I can tell you. So I remember when I came in, it was 3 of us that came in together. Listen, the one guy, they picked him and they gave him an internship, which would give him an increase in grade, 3 steps in grades, right? And I sat back and I said, well, God, what about us? It was another guy. See, the other guy ain't have no clue. He was just happy to have a job. But me, I'm just sitting there like, well, okay, God, I know you told me the promotion when I took the job. God said I would be at this level, but I started off way low. And I said, okay, God, well, I'm trusting you. Well, one day the boss called me in, the director called me in, and I was like, okay, we were talking, and we was talking about the other guy getting an internship. And I was like, well, I want to thank you for him. I just want to thank you for him. Because God told me to just thank him for that, because that was the wisdom, right? Because soon as I did that, I was like, well, I want to thank you for him because, I know there's hope for me. Now, when I said it, I knew those weren't my words. And all I knew to myself is, oh my God, I'm about to get promoted. They didn't say no promotion or anything. I walked out of there smiling and they thinking they doing me a favor. No, baby, God did me a favor. They came back the next day, called me and the other guy and was like, hey, we got y'all some internships too. Well, I already knew, right? But God, I stay silent and let God work. So because I sought after God and I asked God for a thing, he gave me the wisdom, which was what to say, right? He showed me favor. I got promoted. But they thought like, oh, we did you a favor. We did something good for you, for the help, I guess, right? But it was all God. So listen, stop looking for man to tell you something and just lean on God. As a leader, we have to always lean on him. So let's get into point 4. Now, point 4, your gift will make room for you. Your gift will make room for you. One of the key leadership lessons in Daniel chapter 2, right, is that your gift will open doors for you. But your character, your discipline, and relationship with God will determine how long you stay and how far you go. So even though God allowed me that and he promoted me, it was my character, right, that allowed me to stay. And I got promoted again, right? And how far I went because of my character. Even though there were people, listen, Daniel had haters, I had haters, but I kept going because my character, I'm not going to change who I am. Daniel had a unique gift, the ability to understand dreams and visions. But what made him stand out was not just his gift, it was how he used it, how he developed it, and how he stayed grounded in God. Daniel's ability brought him before the king. Daniel was brought before King Nebuchadnezzar because he had the ability to interpret dreams. See, in that moment where no one else could solve the problem, Daniel's gift created an opportunity for him to stand before the king. Your character. Always just being who God called you to be. Be yourself. I don't know how many times I tell people to just be yourself because it will create opportunities. This shows a powerful truth. Your gifts create the opportunities. Your gift may be leadership, communication, teaching, strategy, problem solving, creativity, organization, or just vision. When you develop your gift, it will open doors, create opportunities, put you in important rooms, and bring you before influential people. Yes, your gift is your access point to opportunity. Daniel's prayer life kept him there. His prayer life kept him there. While Daniel's gift opened the door, it was his relationship with God that gave him the answer. Without prayer, Daniel would not have had the interpretation. And without the interpretation, the opportunity would have been lost. This shows an important balance. Your gifts get you in the room, but your discipline and spiritual life, your spiritual life will keep you there. It'll keep you there. Many people have talents but lack discipline. They have opportunity but lack preparation. Have access but lack wisdom. Daniel combined his gift with prayer, dependence on God, discipline, and faith. Talent may open the door, but discipline in prayer sustains your position. His humility is what got him promoted, is what promoted him. When Daniel interpreted the dream, he did not take credit for it. He made it very clear that the answer came from God. This humility is what set him apart from others. Because them wise men, they'd be like, yep, I did it. I'm the best. I am the best king. I am the best. Yes, I am the best wizard. I am the best. Whatever it was that he had, the astrologer, I am the best. But not Daniel, because he already knew who buttered his bread. He don't want no smoke. So Daniel had the opportunity to elevate himself. But instead he honored God. Because of this, the king trusted him, respected him, and promoted him. Pride limits growth. Humility unlocks promotion. Daniel's humility showed maturity, self-awareness, gratitude, and strong character because he stayed humble. He was not only promoted, he was trusted with greater responsibilities. Your gift creates opportunities, but your discipline in your prayer life and humility that will determine your success. So let's look at the pattern. Your gift opens the door. Your preparation and discipline give you the answers. Your humility builds trust. And your character leads to promotion. So to summarize all this up is that your gift will make room for you. But your prayer life and humility will sustain and promote you. Daniel's ability brought him before the king. His dependence on God gave him the answer, and his humility led to the promotion. True success comes from combining your gift with discipline, right? Combining it with discipline, faith, and strong character. Your talent opens the door, but your character and your prayer life is going to keep you there. So listen, let's look at the RPI reflection. So the ones that's new, RPI stands for to acknowledge, release, practice, enter, explore, and empower. These are the 5 pillars of the Trinity of Fitness Bootcamp. The Trinity of Fitness Bootcamp is spiritually, mentally, and physically teaching you how to heal, right? And so the RPI was the foundation of that. It was the 5 pillars of that. This is your checks and balance, right? And so I add the RPI reflection to every teaching that I do because it's something for you to question yourself, check and balance yourself. So let's look at A for acknowledge. Acknowledge an area in your life where you need directions, answer, and clarity. R for release. Release the need to have all the answers yourself. Release worry about the future. Listen, remember, future is anxiety. Stay in the present time. You want to get rid of anxiety? Get into the present time. P for practice. Practice seeking God this week before making any decisions. I want you to pray before decisions, journal for clarity, and spend quiet time thinking and planning. I for enter, explore. Ask yourself, do I react to problems or do I pray about the problems? We usually react to the problems and pray later, but we're learning to do what? Pray about the problems. And we'll have a solution to deal with the problem. So to empower yourself, right? E for empowerment, write this statement. God gives me wisdom, direction, and clarity. And what you're going to journal what decision, situation, or problem in my life right now do I need to stop worrying about and start praying about? What would I change if I sought God first instead of stressing first? I want you to write 10 to 15 minutes of just journaling that, okay, about that. Then you have your meditation prompt. So you're going to sit quietly and reflect on this statement. God reveals direction and wisdom when I seek him. I want you to slow breathe, right? As you inhale, this is what you think, or you can say, God gives wisdom. As you exhale, I trust his decision. God gives wisdom. I trust his decision. And I want you to repeat quietly, right? Once you get your breathing down, I seek God first. I do not panic. I do not panic under pressure. I lead with wisdom. God reveals what I need to know. Okay? Now your homework. Now, I know it seems like I'm giving y'all a lot of work to do, but listen, we come on every Thursday. This is a every Thursday episode, so you got a whole week of stuff. So it's something for you to do every day so you can start focusing on yourself. Not only is this a leadership course that I'm teaching, but I'm teaching you how to be self-aware. Right? If you take your time to do activities like this, that means that you're pouring into yourself. Your energy is within, right? And you're learning more about yourself, and therefore the outside noise is out. So listen, let's look at the homework. And so you're going to read chapter 2, Daniel chapter 2, and you're going to pray about one decision every day this week. Okay? If you got to make a decision, I want you to pray about it. I don't care if it's about which coffee should you have. Pray about it. Find a decision, but pray about it first, right? And then I want you to write down one area where you need direction, one leadership decision you need to make, and one goal for your future. And then I want you to journal twice this week about your future and leadership. And then lastly, number 5, practice being calm instead of panicking when problems arise. And, you know, if you guys missed it, on my YouTube, Chat with Coach Nye, I have a 31-day inner transformation course that I've taught, and it's under the playlist. The playlist is 31-day inner transformation. And I teach about emotional intelligence. So you can catch one of those courses over there so you can learn how to, because a lot of people panic when a problem arises because they're not emotionally intelligent. They're not putting the right emotion to the feeling, meaning that a lot of people act out of secondary. What do I mean by that instead of primary? What do I mean by that? Someone hurt your feelings. The primary is it makes you sad. You want to cry. But we jump into secondary because we were raised off of survival mode. Someone makes you sad or someone hurts your feelings, you fight. That's secondary. You're not angry. You know, so learning how to become emotionally intelligent and how to identify, that's where you acknowledge the RPI. Remember, you check yourself, acknowledge what the problem is. You release the negative self-talk. You're going to practice whatever kind of self-care or practice breathing, whatever it is that you need to do so you won't react, because we're not reacting anymore as leaders. As leaders, we don't react, we respond. But responding don't mean pop off and shake the table and, you know, crash out. That's not what responding mean, or I'm going to tell you about yourself. No, responding means that you acknowledge that there's a problem. You release the negative self-talk. You practice whatever it is that you need to do. If you need to breathe to calm down, then you breathe to calm down. Then you're going to inner explore. I mean, you're going to do a self-reflection of self. What they did is what they did, but you, how are you going to respond? And then you're going to empower yourself. You're going to pat yourself on the back because you didn't crash out. You're going to pat yourself on the back because you realize that now people that come up against you and you really minding your business, people that come up against you, you really intimidate them. That's a they problem. They projecting what they feel onto you. That's a they problem. You're going to pat yourself on the back. You know, you're going to empower yourself. Okay. If they said that you're not a good person, they call you out your name, you're going to empower yourself. You are not that. You are not what they say you are. You are everything that God called you to be. Okay? So let's do the declaration. I want you to repeat after me. I am a leader who seeks God first. I do not panic under pressure. I pray, I listen, and I move with wisdom. God gives me direction, clarity, and vision. I am growing as a leader every day. Doors will open for me because I walk in wisdom and discipline. God's plan for my life will be revealed step by step. Yeah. So let's go ahead and do a whole recap. Bring it all together while it's fresh on your mind. Come on, let's bring it together. Chapter 2 teaches that God is the source of wisdom, solution, promotions, and leadership opportunities. When a major problem arose that no one else could solve, Daniel didn't panic. He didn't rely on himself or react emotionally. Instead, he prayed. He sought God, gathered his friends, and waited for wisdom and revelation. Because Daniel sought God first, God revealed the mystery. Daniel solved the problem, lives were saved, and Daniel was promoted to a leadership position. This chapter clearly shows that the leadership pattern. And the pattern is problems reveal leaders. Leaders seek God for wisdom. God provides solutions. Solutions create opportunities. Opportunities lead to promotion. Promotion brings influence and responsibility. So it teaches you that your gift will open doors, as we talked about. It'll open the door for you, but your character, your prayer life, and humility will determine how far you go. Daniel had the ability to interpret dreams, but what made him a great leader was that he depended on God. He stayed calm under pressure, gave God the credit, and helped others succeed with him. When you seek God, he gives you wisdom. When you have wisdom, you solve problems. When you solve problems, you create opportunities. When you stay humble, you are promoted. God gives wisdom and solutions to those who seek him. Problems reveal leaders. Prayer brings answers. Humility brings promotion. And your gift will create opportunities for influence and leadership. I keep saying it that way because I need you to understand the pattern. You're looking for a promotion, but did you go through the steps? Did you go through the steps? Do you understand? When you seek God, he gives you wisdom. When you have wisdom, you solve problems. When you solve problems, you create opportunities. When you stay humble, you are promoted. I don't know, whoever out there listening to this, maybe it was for you, because I keep having to say it over and over. It's the steps. Stop jumping straight to the promotion, but you never went through the steps. And the first step is the critical step. The second step is, now are you listening? Do you know how to hear my voice? Listen, so let's talk about it. And then I'm going to give you some questions that you can just, some end of class discussions questions that I create for you guys. But that's the thing. A lot of us, we ask God, we go to God in prayer and nothing happens, right? And then you see someone else, they're getting everything they ask for. And you're like, well, I'm not getting mine. Well, a lot of times the first step, you do the first step, you go to God. But then from that point, you go straight to the promotion, start looking for it. So let me give you the trick and the key to it. It's not really a trick. This is just the law of the land, right? So this is a Coach Nyism, right? Here it is. I pray and I ask God for a thing. I sit back and I listen to his voice. And I understand that when I ask God for a thing, I have to let go of the way that I feel it should come in, or how the world told me how it should come in. Because we remember, we were brought into this world on purpose, for a purpose, in purpose, but the world raised us in survival mode. So our mind can only even imagine. When we imagine what God is going to do is going to be out of this world, our minds can't process that. So we only can process it of what we've seen before, heard before, or know, something familiar. So when we ask God for a thing, we look at, oh God, I need $1 million. What's the next thing we do? Okay, it must be the lottery, because there's no way somebody's just going to drop it into my account. There's no way that somebody's going to pick up my content and say, okay, that's her. There's no way that it got to be the lottery. And then you go chase a thing. So that's getting out of alignment. So reel it back in. So you pray, you ask God for a thing. Now, you rid yourself of the whole how it can come in. That's control. You let that go. You ask God for a thing, you rest. There is no waiting season. I'm sorry to tell you. I know your pastor been telling you about this waiting season. There is no waiting season. Let me tell you what the waiting season had. In that waiting season, what happened is the enemy shows up and say, okay, but you know you can hustle. Hey, man, you know that lottery is about 1.3 billion. You go chasing something because of the fact you feel like, okay, well, this must be a sign from God. So you're not hearing his voice. I told you the loudest voice is your own. It's the child trauma that's inside of you. It's the enemy telling you, hey, listen to me. God is settled. Now, let me go back to it. I keep jumping away from it, but let me go back to it. So I pray and I ask God for a thing, right? And once I ask him for a thing, I go rest. I don't worry about it or stress about it. I just let it go. And when the feeling come up of that anxiety of that situation, I let it go, because I always have to put myself back in the present time. Meaning right now, this bill is due tomorrow, but right now, it's not due. Right now, in this moment, in this hour, in this second, it's not due. So now I listen. And sometimes God does not speak. He doesn't speak through others. He'll show you. You'll be sitting in a commercial, watching a commercial, and you're like, why do I keep seeing stuff about leadership, management, go to work, and everybody telling you about management. Go over here. You don't want to be a manager, but why you keep telling me? Why I keep seeing management? Your kids come around talking about, we was playing follow the leader. You don't know what it is, but God is showing you something because you asked him for a thing. In order to get to that thing, you need to hear my voice. Now you accept the challenge. Okay, God, this position is open for management. Just a coincidence that this position is open for management and it just fell in my lap. I know God be tired of us, but that's what it is. Now, your bill is due, right? That's coming up right in the same time frame that you're about to get hired, because you're looking at, man, it's going to take this long. And this is when you start thinking of yourself. But no, God will have you in that position. You interview for that position. You get hired. And matter of fact, you get more than what you need, because God know that once you pay the bill out of this check, you're going to be flat broke again, but he's going to double it for you. So now you got just enough time to get that 2-week pay to pay that bill. You have to wait. Ask God for a thing. You go to God, you pray. Listen, right? It's listening. He's going to give you the wisdom. When he give you the wisdom, it's going to solve the problem. You apply for the job, right? Solve the problem. Solving the problem, you then what? Create opportunities. You got the job, right? And then when you stay humble, because you know who gave you this job, you don't say, oh, I did this. As we always say, something told me to. No, you don't do that. You say, God told me to do that. You give God his credit and you are promoted. So that's just a way of looking at it. So whatever it is that you got going on, go to God and don't control how it come in. Be open for what it is that he have for you and listen for his voice. Okay? So I'm going to give you some end of class discussions, because I can go on and on and on about the favor of God and how it comes and how I receive it and how it was times that I missed. But that's for another time. This is what I want you guys, the end of class discussion. Now, this is what I want you guys to know, that you can either put it in the comments, or you can just write it down in your journal, or share it with a friend. I just want you to be able to communicate. Everything that I do is to teach you how to self-awareness, self-love, building yourself up. And I'm introducing everyone to the Lead Her movement. I'm so excited about it, but it's just a movement for women finding the leader within herself, right? So listen, 1, do you usually panic or pray when problems happen? And 2, what is one decision you need wisdom for right now? 3, how can prayer become part of your leadership? 4, what does leadership wisdom mean to you? And then 5, what stood out to you in Daniel's chapter 2? Okay, so as always, if no one told you today, I'm telling you now, I love you and I am so proud of you. I want you guys to continue to pour into yourself before you pour into others. If you need some life coaching sessions, you can check me out on tofbootcamp.com. That is my website where I have my workout programs I just released over there. So you guys get a hold of that. And you guys can find out more. If you go ahead and subscribe to my website, tofbootcamp.com. If you subscribe there, you'll get the notifications when I come, what's up next, the updates, because the next thing we have is the Lead Her morning show that I will be doing. So you guys will be able to tune into that. It'll just be it'll be episodes live on TikTok and YouTube. So after I do the other one, I'll do the other one. So yeah. Subscribe there so you can get all the updates. I'll email you guys with all the updates I have going on the Operation Iron Wheel. As we progress through that, I got a lot of amazing things going on. And I also have the Lead Her network that is coming. So yeah, subscribe to my tofbootcamp.com and subscribe so you can get all the updates and everything. I'm so excited about this Lead Her movement. So yeah, you guys join and share and tell others about it. So remember to pour into yourself before you pour into others. I am your instructor, Coach Nye, and I thank you once again for tuning in. And remember, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube, go over there. It's Chat with Coach Nye. I'm teaching the Power Within leadership course over there. Also, I'm doing the Women of the Bible leadership. So we did Deborah last week, and then this Sunday. I do it every Sunday. So we'll have all the women in the Bible. I'm breaking them down and showing what their leadership style was. So yeah. follow me there. Chat with Coach Nye is my YouTube, and Chat with Coach Nye is my TikTok, and all my other handles. Everything is Chat with Coach Nye. And if you have not downloaded this episode or downloaded my podcast, please do so. I am on all streaming platforms. So thank you. Coach Nye out. God's plans